Yo, yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? Stormybman, and I'm here. I'm back. That's right, I am back. Welcome to Stormybman on Loma versus TO pre-fight breakdown. I'm just gonna come on for a little bit, talk about this big fight this weekend. Everybody else seems to be, offering up their sentiments, and so here I am to kind of join the party, so to speak. And hey, you know, as we talk about big fights, you never know how they're gonna go. You just don't know. You try to figure in all the X's and O's and all the intangibles and come up with some type of theory as to how you see it going. But it's not until these guys get into the ring and the lights are on and the pressure is on and it's time to perform live on stage. That's when we'll find out exactly what the deal will be. So, with that being said, I want to welcome you guys out there. We got Watcher. He says, once again, you will see a technician in that ring. Watcher said that a few times already on the other streams. That's why I said once again. Big Money is out there. Says, I got Lomachenko winning this fight. He says, Teofimo is a good fighter, but he's not on this level yet. And he says, I'm taking bets also. Mike 202 has joined us and says, salute Stormy B, man. The Sensei Gi with the boxing glove. I appreciate that. And he says, fire intro. Yeah, you know, I'm a man with a flair for the dramatic. So that's what I do, man. You ain't learned, you're gonna learn. Over here with the Sensei, man. That's what it's all about. Watcher says, oh, don't worry. I'll keep saying it to everyone. This fight shall deliver. We'll see, man. You know, the great thing about it is that anticipation of a big fight when you know, did all the talking and everything, and it's just before that first bell, right? And there's a swell of sensation, feelings, butterflies, anticipation, perspiration. It's just like people just, and it's all because the excitement of boxing is almost like, an adrenaline rush, like, what do they call it, bungee jumping, or jumping out of an airplane with a parachute or something. It's just something about the sport, seeing two guys, gladiators, warriors going at it, and we always love it, and it's a shame that the various promoters and whatnot around the sport hold the sport at hostage because they don't make the fights that the fans want to see regularly enough to make the sport take its natural place among the sports world. Boxing, and I remarked this in a chat stream earlier, there's nothing that compares to the sport of boxing when it offers up the best of what it has. Probably the only thing would be the Super Bowl. And that's simply because that's one game shown around the world in hundreds of countries, and there's advertisements and hype and everything that drives it up to that level in your consciousness. But in boxing, it's the two warriors who are going at it that bring you to that. And these promoters of today, they try to casually pass that off as if it's not as significant as it is. But I'm going to tell you something. They're wrong. Because every time they bring a great fight together. The people are there. The people are there to witness it. And so, they need to stop doing that to us, because we will show up if they deliver. You know what I mean? We will show up if they deliver. And this coming weekend is a wonderful time to send the message, because this fight is pretty much on free TV, right? It's not pay-per-view. As long as you can get ESPN cable, you can see it. And that's where we really have to, show up and show out, as far as like what we want to see. Now, these are little guys, lightweights, man, and there's a murmur, there's a, whisper about, what's going to happen. Multiple titles on the line in a unification match going towards undisputed, and possibly the right for franchise champion, which is something I don't really, that title is bantied about, but it's really something foolish, I think. But nonetheless, these two men at the weight appear to be right now solidly number one and number two. And with that being what it is, people are going to tune in and see who's best. Will it be the older fighter in Vasily Lomachenko, who had been handed, some feel wrongfully, a status in the sport, given opportunity to challenge for a world title in his first professional fight and things like that, and being recognized by today's media as a personality who exhibits skills that they have never seen before and everything, which is all bull crap, because there's a history of fighters before this man who have done far more than what he's achieved in 15 professional fights. Okay, so that's just hype, and that's hype for him. It's hype because of his background and nationality, where he's from, and they want to drive a certain narrative here where, they can get audiences dialed into this. So be it. Now, the other guy, Teofimo Lopez from Honduras, he is of the new kid on the block status, with also 15 victories on his record, looking to break out, so to speak, and looking at Lomachenko as a man of which he could really build his brand and stake his claim by defeating him in an exciting fashion, because Teofimo Lopez has been a man who draws excitement with his ring dancing and celebrations after victories, backflips and all. We've seen that kind of stuff before from various other fighters throughout the late 80s and early 90s. Hector Camacho comes to mind. There have just been quite a few. Prince Nassim Hamed, and they're entertaining. But along with being entertaining, you have to be good, because you can't be out there doing these kind of things and not be good. You get dumped on your can and people are like, okay, we're checking out now. So that being said, in this fight, physically, He's a bit bigger than Vasily. He's definitely younger, 10 years younger, uh, possibly stronger, as many have spoken about. And he has a power punch at the weight, which people get excited about men who can produce knockouts. But I want to pump the brakes on that aspect for just a moment, because in a series of showcase fights, uh, Lopez has shown the ability and knack to get rid of guys. But I have to admit, most of them were second, if not third tier and rated fighters. This particular fight happens to be his first real step-up fight. And though Vasily Lomachenko only has, 15 fights as well, he has a wealth of experience being the age that he is, extended amateur career involved, along with the ability to grasp how to box with his athletic ability. And his athletic ability happens to be he's agile, he has good footwork, he understands punch placement and how to probe for open shots and do it by working aggressively on angles and things like that. So again, it's not nothing never done before in boxing, but for someone from where he comes from and how he has been represented, it's a breath of fresh air for some people to see a fighter like him do what he does. So, these are contrasting styles between these two guys, and that's a good thing. Very good, because, you have a guy who can punch and a guy who can put himself in position to get punched, to punch and evade punches. So, something has to give here. The fact that I'm mentioning it's the first step-up fight for Lopez has to weigh heavy in how this may go. There's two ways only. Either he will step up and rise to the occasion, or he can get blinded by the lights. And as we talk about this, we'll lay out the reasons for both, and for Vasily Lomachenko, many people feel like, he might be a weight class too high at lightweight. He might be better at junior or even at feather. But will he be able to take the strength and the power of the younger Lopez? It has been spoken about him being, knocked down a couple of times in his career. Being knocked down happens in boxing matches. Being hurt and put in crisis is something totally different. And so when you make an assessment on someone being knocked down, it's really how that happens in the action, how things go. Sean Porter was dropped by AB, but he wasn't in trouble. He was, knocked off his feet and he got right back up and finished the fight. In his match against Earl Spence Jr., he barely grazed the canvas with his glove, but was far more hurt in that instance because of the shot he took and who he took it from, but still fought on, so again, and was able to finish the fight, finish the round, let alone the fight. And so when you're looking at this and you make these assessments, I remember Mike Tyson said something very interesting after his first fight with Razor Ruddock. he says that, not always the guy with the biggest punch wins, and it was fascinating for him to admit that, because what he was stating at that instance was, in the fight against Ruddock, who was definitely a tremendously powerful puncher, particularly with his left hand, Mike was given leeway to the fact that Ruddock might have been a bigger puncher than he was, but that didn't necessarily equate to victory. So as he recognized that and stated it right in front of the cameras, he was basically telling people it takes more than just a big punch to get the job done. You have to have skills, you have to have intelligence, you have to have ring IQ, you have to have so many factors that will play into what you're trying to do there. And Mike spoke that. I want to go back to the chat for a moment and acknowledge some people. Watcher says, Lopez did a lot of talking in that press conference. Gonna have to back it up when those lights hit go time. IGM Tim is out there, says, salute Stormy B and chat 100. Andrew Charles says, salute at Stormy B, man. Salute to you. Boxing and Barbecue says, I have no dog in this fight. I can just sit back and enjoy the fight. What's up, Stormy B, man? What's up with you, Boxing and Barbecue? Eric R. says, damn, almost missed you. Yeah, this was spur of the moment, Eric R., so don't feel bad about that. I just decided to do it because there was some time and everybody is talking about it, so I thought I'd come out and talk about it as well. He's speaking on good punch placement. Salute family. J.E. Dixon is out there, says, salute Stormy B, man, in the chat. 78 Sports TV is out there. He says, salute Stormy and family. I want to invite you to my Friday night show. If you can make it, let me know. Topic, Lopez versus Stanko. Hey, 78, what time is it? Because I do the Friday night chop session too. So let me know what time your show is. Is it still going to be at 7 p.m. Central? Just let me know in the chat, please. Eric R. says, Sean never saw that uppercut coming. Yeah, it was a left hook. Boxing and Barbecue says, laugh out loud, salute 78. And Bruce Gold says, salute Stormy B, man, just showing the love. Appreciate you, Bruce Gold, but you can do more than show the love. You can stay and listen and get some advisement on what you might be seeing. J. Dixon says, I don't like how Tio keeps his hands low. I hope he doesn't try to be flashy and is defensively responsible, or he might get touched up. Big Homie Coop says, salute Stormy B-Man in the chat. 78 says 7 Central. All right, 78. Yeah, I'd love to be there, man. If you have me, I'd love to be there, man. Appreciate that invite. Eric R. says, as Stormy B-Man, you made the comment that Loma might be a weight class too high. Why could it be that way for him and not for Manny? Is it just Manny's power? Yeah, that's a great question there. That's a great question, Eric, because Manny has, for some freakish reason, as he's matured in life, has carried power up to higher weights. Whether that's legitimate, natural ability or whatever, but he has done so. That keeps him in fights. That's an equalizer. Plus, Manny has a great deal of hand speed and foot speed that offsets almost everyone he fights. And don't forget the last part of it, he's a southpaw. So he has kind of gone through the graces of boxing and got around these little landmines, being able and capable in a manner of which no one really has had the answer for him to solve his riddles. Now, Floyd tamed him, of course, because Floyd is a master boxer. But that's exactly what it takes, a master boxer, to tame that aspect of someone who is athletic and gifted in that manner. But Juan Manuel Marquez proved to be the type of fighter that offsets what Manny does very well. And that right hand in that fourth fight showed you exactly what that's all about. And he finally caught that guy and put him to sleep. In those fights, at least two of them, he should have had a victory. You know, in the three prior, rather, at least two of them, he should have got a decision, and he didn't. And so it was nice to see him cap everything off by putting Manny to sleep. That was excellent work. Excellent. And of course, Manny was like, hey, let's do it one more time. No, man, he finally got you. Go sit down somewhere. You've made enough money and status off of that. But you see the contrasting thing, because I said that Floyd is a master boxer. Juan Manuel Marquez was a fighter. You understand? He wasn't necessarily in there to box, but he had a game plan, and that was, I'm going to catch this sucker. And he tried to do it in the earlier fights, but he was just missing. A couple times he caught Manny and rocked him and stuff like that, but he couldn't just get that shoveled in there. And he finally did, and he had the type of success he had been looking for in 4 fights. Big Homie Coop says, Loma has experience, but is it enough to offset T.O.'s size advantage? I don't know. What's interesting is this. What will T.O. rehydrate up to? If there's a limit, then Loma really fares much better. If there isn't a rehydration limit, then you know T.O. could come in really big, and it'll be a case of what Rigondeaux ran into when he fought Lomachenko. Because remember, Rigondeaux put on extra weight and went up a couple of weight classes to take on, you know, Lomachenko. When Lomachenko could have come down a little bit more and met him at a more viable weight, he didn't want to do that. And he kept those advantages, whereas Rigo was like, you know, he stretched it big time. So, but in this fight, let's get down to the X's and O's here. I really like Lomachenko's approach to the fight. He's approaching this fight as a consummate professional, a man who's been there before or whatever. And he has received, again, like I said, a lot of accolade and shine without necessarily producing it. You know, it was kind of, he was like awarded that before accomplishing things. So in a way, this is his coming out party as well. That can't be overlooked. So he's going to be up for this fight. He's going to be focused for this fight. And he's got a young gun ahead of him that thinks that he's nothing. He can just go through him. He can overpower him or whatever. That is a dangerous recipe for the opponent, because if that is what the opponent, and in this instance I'm speaking of Lopez, the opponent to Lomachenko, if he's approaching it that way, he has to be careful, because veteran fighters know how to set traps for young upstarts, especially those who think that they can just get it done with a big punch. Okay, they can set traps, and they can wait on those mistakes and capitalize. There's an old saying about taking them out to sea and drowning them, okay? Remember when Lopez was facing Nakatani, he had trouble when the fight went deep, and the guy had boxing ability, and he was tall and rangy and things like that. But psychologically, he wasn't dealing with it very well. Even after the fight, in the post-fight, he was talking about, oh, I'm never fighting tall guys like that again or whatever. It was always something about that approach after the fight where he found difficulty, and he didn't like the fact that he had to deal with difficulty. Well, in boxing, the theater of the unexpected, difficulty is just around the corner. you know. And this is something that fighters really have to take to heart. And does Tio, being a younger man, really understand that at the pro level? Because remember, he's been in a succession of fights where he was showcased. You know, he was the man. He was showcased. Some of those guys didn't even belong in a ring with him. So there was no fight where he was challenged to compete for victory prior to now. And if you want to use the Comey fight for an example, Comey looked amateurish as I don't know what. And I've always said, a lot of these guys today fight and win championships before they learn how to really fight. You know, and to go out there brandishing a championship belt, but you haven't gone through any trials, you haven't suffered any adversity or obstacles where you had to overcome and turn a corner, been knocked down to get back up to win, suffer a cut and have to fight through it, some kind of injury, your hand is hurt or whatever, and you have to use the other hand and not let the opponent know that you're hurt or whatever. Adversity, trials to overcome. In the old days, trainers and managers used to like their fighters to have adversity to test their skin and mettle, because under that type of pressure, personality characteristics come to light. That's when people get the opportunity to see, he didn't handle that well. Oh, he came through with flying colors or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So those are the instances that really, really mean something. Tio hasn't had that. And behind the scenes, there are some circumstances that call to question about, family issues and things like that. He's another fighter whose dad is training him and everything, but there's some kind of underlying thing happening there too. That can boil over in a fight. I'm not saying it will, but there's just knowing this is a recipe to understand that how certain things can transpire. If there's pressure in the fight and he comes back to the corner and his dad is saying, hey, you got to do this or that, and he feels like, man, I am doing it, or what? And are they gonna clash? Are they gonna, have a problem there on the scene in his biggest fight? We hope not, but don't be surprised if something like that happens, because you have to be on guard about all of these things. Now, the thing about Vasily, he is accustomed, because he understands that there's been hate out there for him. He understands that everybody is not celebrating him. Just like when they were trying to award him as being pound for pound, and he had to openly say, hey, it's not me, it's Terrence Crawford. That's because he recognized that some people were like, dude, you ain't done nothing yet for us to respect you like that. What are you talking about? But he has won sensationally in certain matches, even making people quit, so to speak. For a duration, they was calling him, what was it? Loma quit, whatever that nickname they came, because guys were stopping. But those were men who weren't willing to test him. Now, Orlando Salido tested him because of the style he fought. That rugged, come after you, get in your chest type deal or whatever. That's always been a counter to the type of boxer that Vasily Lomachenko is. And that makes for great fights because it's a great clash of styles. But Loma didn't handle that very well. And he really hasn't fought another fighter like that since. But that is not Teofimo Lopez's fighting style. Now, if he opts to try to do it in this fight, all of a sudden, he can open himself up into adversity that he may not be prepared for. So this is why you have to stick to your guns. Can Tio box? Because he's going to have to be patient. He's going to have to set some things up. We don't know that because we haven't seen him do that. You could hope that he does it, But will he really? We don't know. Vasily will box. That's what he does. But he's an aggressive boxer. He'll come at you. He'll look to score. He'll poke and probe and look for shots to set you up. Okay, he might touch you here, but really has an intent of touching you over there. He may show you a little look here, but he's really looking to do this over here. And that's wisdom and ring smarts and ring IQ. There has been no one that Tio has fought at this juncture in the ring. I'm not talking about sparring, but there's no one he has fought on his record who has done that. So there's another flag in the sand for Vasily. Now, what Tio does, definitely Loma has seen before. Has he actually fought a man physically in his professional career like this? No. But has he sparred them? Of course he has. He has sparred bigger men and everything. So probably young, strong, fast, hard-hitting, knockout type guys. That's a part of you training and everything. And if he has never done it in his training, that's ridiculous. But I would surmise that he has. And that's the thing that Tio has to realize too. He doesn't know that there's something under the surface with this guy. And I believe that there's a mean streak in Vasily Lomachenko. He relished, when he had a few guys quit in the corner, he was pissed off because he was like, hey, fight, and that was a good sign. He didn't just take the victory like, hey, I beat the guy. He a couple of those guys, he was like, come on, fight, man. You want to see that. You don't want someone who wants everything easy. I remember after one of Tio's knockouts, and they were counting the guy out and about to pick him up and take him back to his corner, he walked over behind the people and made a motion like he was digging dirt, pouring dirt on the body. That was very classless, because the thing about it is you didn't knock out Vasily Lomachenko when you did that. You knocked out a guy who was not really on your level. You know what I'm saying? So that was like, what are you doing, man? It's okay to dance around and do your little flips and everything, but celebrating like that, come on, man. Some of those guys, you have to check and see if they had a pulse that he was fighting out there. So, yeah, Nomaschenko, that's what they were calling him. Thanks, fellas, for that. Flexing, homie. And Eric R., thank you for that. Derek McGee has joined us. He says, salute, family. Chef Curry is out there. And let's see. Big Homie Coop says, Loma has experience, but is it enough to offset Tio's size advantage? I don't know. Okay, I read that one. I'm sorry. Big Money is out. He says, did you already give your prediction, Stormy B Man? No, I did not. I did not give the prediction yet, and we're discussing this, and I'm trying to lay the landscape for what we're looking at. And as we do this and lay the landscape, I want you guys to understand that a fight like this, when you have a young lion and an old stud, you always have to leave room for the intangibles to work their way into the fight. This fight has a handicap like a few others didn't have. This is the kind of fight where if Lomachenko is too small, can't take it or whatever, Teofimo should blow him out because he's just too strong, big, or whatever. I don't think that'll necessarily be the case. If he suffers a cut or something, because there has been sign of damage on his face in his most recent fights. That tissue around the eyes is starting to get puffy, and it hasn't really opened up a lot or anything, but it could in this fight. That's something you have to watch out and guard against. But it's just a number of things that really play into the favor of both guys. But history tells us there are times when the young upstart scores a victory. And then there are other times when they get turned away. Eric R. says he also pulls your hands down when punching. Yes. Talking about Vasily. When you got your guard up, he knows how to pull your hands down, hit you, and all of that. Yeah, little tricks of the trade. Tyrone is out there. He says, salute, peoples. What's going on with you, Tyrone? Good to see you, bro. Smash that like button, people, as you come in. Let's see. We've got... we got Chef Curry in the Cash App. Send a donation. Thank you, brother, for that. Appreciate that, man. You know what? As we talk about this fight, there are some things that you can really, really set your glass on solidly. And there are some other things that make things a little rocky, and you can't. The things that are rocky apply to Teofimo, simply because this is his first step-up fight. This is the fight where he has to show he belongs, give you... He's got to do it. And remember, he's done a lot of talking and everything, right? But people have talked before. Few of them are able to back up what they say with bravado and all of that, and with skill sets. Teo hasn't done a lot skillfully. He has done things by overwhelming people. The thing about Vasily Lomachenko is he's not going to be overwhelmed. It's like he's not going to be in awe. You heard him say in his interview in his broken English, he was like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? And when he said that, I didn't take it like he was questioning him, like nobody should know who he is or whatever. I looked at that as like, what has he done yet because of who he's been fighting? Now, remember, you take guys like Linares and, when they fought with Vasily, he defeated them. And knocking guys out with body punches and things like that, that's a pro, and you're doing it to guys who are supposed to be on a certain class or level. Would they have put Teofimo in with Linares or something? I don't know. Would they have just waited for him to get a shot at a title first? And see, that's the thing that's kind of ass backwards about today's boxing. They'll rather hold their protege or prospect off from fighting stiffer competition till he gets a belt. And then he get in a fight and he fall apart and he lose. So he's now a former champion already. Why? Listen, if you go out there and somebody bests you, get a decision over you, or even happens to stop you, you can go back to the drawing board, clean up what your mistakes are, and come back. But when you lose the title, it makes you, it kind of diminishes the victory, because it's like you didn't have the wherewithal to be able to retain. Defend and retain. That's important. And not enough of them are looking at boxing like that today. I don't think that Vasily Lomachenko is worried about Teofimo as a fighter. He may be concerned with what the game plan may be, so he's going to be working to figure that out. But as an experienced fighter, his data is going to be running, right? And he's going to be assessing everything. Remember, Tio is coming out to knock him out, right? To get him out of there. Oh, this fight is not going to go past 3 rounds or 5 rounds, whatever he said. Well, what if Vasily's plan is to go 12, but to take you out into the deep waters and just beat you up, and stay elusive and things like that? Will Tio get frustrated? Huh? And if he gets anxious while being frustrated, he might be more inclined to make mistakes. And the veteran can take advantage of those mistakes. So you see here, it's like there's a lot to assess here. A lot to assess. I go back to the fight recently with Jamal Charlo and Sergey Deverenchenko. There have been a number of people who have stated that they felt like Maul should have stopped Sergey Deverenchenko, and he could have stopped him. But I looked at that a different way. Maul had been stopping a lot of guys, right? But no one at the level of Sergey Deverenchenko, meaning a man who was experienced. He was a good fighter, durable, strong, could take it, and in a way, that fight was Maul's big step-up fight. Now, he fought guys who were supposedly at his level, but remember, that was supposed to be that next level, right, with Deverenchenko, because people felt like he beat Triple G, right? So, and Triple G was a world champion, and if Deverenchenko beat Triple G, that would have been a title that they would have been fighting for, right? Even though they didn't award him his decision. So, the way that Maul fought Deverenchenko, he beat him decisively. But had he gone for the kill, or to even do more than what was transpiring, because he was in a safe place of doing what he did, Deverenchenko couldn't get past that jab. It was in his face all night long. The man looked like a raccoon after the fight, right? But if he had gotten reckless, going in for a knockout, that was Sergey's only chance. So now the chances for him having victory increase 10 to 20-fold, because you're putting yourself in harm's way to take a guy out over beating him decisively. Remember, the objective is to win. And you win by the way Maul fought. If you wanted to put things in a sense of high stakes and roll the dice, you're leveling up the playing field for Deverenchenko. Deverenchenko could not sell out and go for broke against Maul with the way he was boxing him. He was taking too much punishment. But if Maul comes in, he can play the cornered cat, swing for the fences, catch an elbow or something to the eye or whatever. You got a cut now, and then it's like, oh, there's some drama here. You see what I'm saying? So Maul fought the best way for him to secure his victory. He will go back to knocking people out, because there are going to be people who open up the opportunity to take the chances. And that's what you have to understand about boxing. I'm certain that Ronnie Shields was very pleased with his performance and would not coerce him in the corner to go for a knockout when it wasn't necessary. He was beating the guy from pillar to post. And that's the thing. If the guy can take it, let him keep taking more to the final bell. That's his fault. If he wants to end up busted up, okay? Because the corner can stop it too, right? Especially when there's no hope left, right? So think about it in terms like that. That's the type of thing that a real trainer is always going to let his fighter know. You can go out there, you win this one, look good the next time. And that's not to say that Maul didn't look good. It's just the philosophy of doing what's necessary to secure a victory. Now, how does that apply to this fight? Remember, Lomachenko is the veteran here. He knows that he shouldn't go wading into danger against this younger, bigger, physically stronger guy with a big punch. But he can always set him up. And listen, you don't have to be a superior puncher to knock the other guy out. Okay? You hit a guy right on the chin, he could go. You hit a guy in that liver, he can go. You get a guy who is now uncertain of himself, the lights are too big, you're outboxing him, you're frustrating him, he doesn't have the answers. Now he's susceptible to you. And then you can take over, and then you can take him apart. If you go back and watch Larry Holmes in the mid-'80s, when he was fighting all these contenders who were young, strong, big, that's how he was beating them, with moxie and ring guile and boxing experience, taking guys out to sea and drowning them. That's what this man is going to have to do, and that's the best way for him to try to win. Tio cannot outbox him. He can't. So his plan is to stop him, right? So with that being known, you know that a guy is coming to stop you. What are you going to do? You're going to try to make sure that it don't happen, right? And there are ways to guard against that. Not be available, to apply pressure when you can, to give angles, to make them miss, make them pay, to break them down psychologically and physically. Is this something that Vasily Lomachenko can do? Absolutely, 100%. He has a number of things that he can do and impose in this fight that will put him in a means of being victorious, contingent upon Lopez making mistakes. Now, what mistakes? You could say, well, what if Lopez doesn't make mistakes? Everybody makes mistakes. However, in his first big step-up fight, he better try not to make one. That's the difference. Vasily could get knocked down. Do you think he'll get up? Absolutely. You have to keep putting him down until you put him out. That's another difference. What if Vasily knocks down Tio? How do you think that's going to affect him psychologically? Will he be embarrassed? Will he be like, oh, that wasn't nothing? Will he be like doubtful? Those are questions that have never been asked of him. We've seen Vasily get off the canvas and win. See, when we make statements like this is what it's all about. That's how you can look at boxing in its totality. Not the guy with the biggest punch always wins. No, it doesn't happen that way. There are a number of seeds to be sown, and there are things that can transpire that will put this in a different place. I want to go back to the chat for a minute. Let's see. Eric R. says, the only scenario I can see Teofimo winning is by KO. I can see Loma outboxing him and winning on the cards. Chef Curry is saluting. Eric R. says, I agree, Stormybman. All of these fighters want to skip the maturation process. They build their hype off of the soft touches at the prospect levels, and they want to skip journeymen and contenders. Yeah. Yeah, that's another way of saying what I said. So appreciate that sentiment, Eric R. IGM Tim says, I agree. I thought Jamal fought a mature fight. Absolutely, man. And it will do nothing but make him better. Because he realizes that you're not going to always knock everybody out. But he knows he can go the distance with a tough guy, but he knows that he can win behind his boxing skills. And he draws a line in the sand to make the other guy have to adjust to him. That's great stuff. Mr. Shelton is out there. He says, salute, fam. Salute to you, Mr. Shelton. Big Homie Coop says, Jamal's game plan and prep was superior. Absolutely. Ronnie Shields, man. And D. Hodges says, what up, Stormy and chat? LDBC salute, family. Salute to you. And IGM Tim says, great example, Stormy B. Larry Holmes. Yes, sir. I give that example because he showed that he could win a number of ways. Plus, he was the type of champion who could rise to the occasion and make adjustments. Larry Holmes had been knocked down. He'd been nearly knocked out. He's gotten off the canvas to win. You know, that's just one fighter example, but there have been far many others, but I just used him. He popped to mind right away. D. Hodges says, if Tio goes to the body instead of the head, he'll slow him down. Maybe. But remember, when you go to the body, right, you make yourself susceptible to what's coming in from the other side, especially if that's not your forte. Okay? D. Hodges says, you can move your head. It's hard to move the body. Eric R. says, also, what if 3 or 4 rounds go by and Tio hasn't landed anything significant? He might really fade in confidence as the fight goes on. If that's happening, Eric R., Tio's in trouble. Big time. He's in trouble, big time, and it's not going to bode well for him after that. Because that will be the map for him to be on the path for defeat. D. Hodges says, if Tio headhunt, it's over. Mr. Shelton says, I could see Loma putting on a master class, to be honest. I'm not even convinced Lopez is Loma's roughest test to date. Very interesting take there, Mr. Shelton. And IGM Tim says, Tio's dad and Loma got into an altercation a couple of years ago. He didn't like how Loma responded when he approached him and asked about Tio. Man, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, the other, you know, fathers or trainers getting involved and all that, man, it don't mean anything because it's the fighters who have to fight. And, you know, Tio's dad is not the man fighting. He could get mad all he wants to. That's just another person that can provide a distraction, you know, with talking crap. I mean, who else dad is? You've seen Danny Garcia's dad get in there and be out front and cause commotion and stuff like that. It doesn't really, you know, make a difference. Then you've seen other dads who've been quiet and they go about getting their sons prepared, and that's what they do. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, why should Lomo be worried about Tio at that time a couple of years ago? And because, you know, his dad wants him to take notice of his son. Whatever, man. Somebody will come along and be trying to get Tio's dad to take notice of their fighter or whatever. And then let's see how they respond. It's nothing new under the sun. D. Hodges says, facts. Kenny Porter. Yes, sir. And IGM Tim says, he may have made it bad for Tio is what I'm thinking. I don't think he made it bad, but believe me, Vasily Lomachenko knows The dad ain't going to do one bit of fighting in this situation. But the son can be distracted and he can do some things to the son. I've seen it, man. I've seen guys be taken apart in front of their dads. You know, Joe Frazier's son, Marvis Frazier, got taken apart by Larry Holmes, you know, and Larry was waving over the referee to come and stop the fight as he was beating the crap out of Marvis Frazier. And Joe Frazier wouldn't throw the towel in. He's letting his son get slaughtered in there. But again, Marvis was not Joe. You understand? There you go. Eric R. says, Kenny Porter seemed to have come down since the Broner fight. He really looked bad. Yeah. So, but as we get ready to close this out, I'll just, put it out there like this, man. It's a fight worth tuning into. It's a fight that we all, want to see, and other fights like this, we want them. Let's keep them coming, right? Keep them coming. But at the end of the day, it's hard to go against a proven winner. And in this instance, the proven winner would be Vasily Lomachenko. Now, it is T.O.'s prize and mantle to win. It is Lomachenko's to defend, to let everybody know this is my mountain peak. My flag is placed here. Will T.O. snatch that out? Will he knock the flag over and plant his own? We'll see. But personally, Stormybman feels that Vasily Lomachenko is the favorite here, should be the favorite here, and I see him coming out with a decision. Okay, it could be a UD, or it could be, if it's UD, that's, he won decisively. But I don't think that it's going to be a good night for Lopez. And I don't say that because I'm against him. I'm really, really on the fence of that because of the opposition that he has faced up to this point. They've put him in a great position to try to win and unify based on his physicality. Sometimes when you're in there with a really good fighter, and Vasily Lomachenko is a really good fighter, it's not that easy, man. It's not that easy. What if he hits Vasily with his best stuff and he's like, the guy doesn't go anywhere? Now, you got to fight. What if you were planning to knock him out and it don't happen? Will you put enough rounds in the bank? And we're not talking about just knocking the guy down, but you got to win the fight. You got to win the rounds. Put rounds in the bank. I said this about Deontay Wilder. As much as I like Deontay Wilder, he has been a champion that has not put enough rounds in the bank. He has always relied on getting the guy out of there. But what happens if you go to the scorecards? You want to talk about somebody robbing you? You want to talk about somebody taking something away rightfully or whatever? You got to put those rounds in the bank. Look at what happened with Jermell Charlo against Tony Harrison. In a fight where he was very aggressive, pursued Harrison. Harrison fought off the back foot primarily for the fight. The judges saw Harrison winning that fight. So much to the degree that Mel was like, man, you guys are, I won the fight. But in the rematch, he brought his own judge and jurors, right? And see, that's the thing. If you think that Vasily is just going to come in here and lay down for this young man, got another thing coming. This guy just barely is over the age to drink. You know what I mean? And he's going out there for a lot of water, so I hope he can swim. But I don't know that he will. Let's see. Big Homie Coop says, Stormy B Man, do you think the winner will take the Haney fight for undisputed? That depends. It depends on who wins and how they win. Because if it's a tough fight and Lomachenko wins, he may not opt to fight Haney because of the franchise status and stuff like that. They may give him an out. If Lopez wins and he wins spectacularly, he'll probably vacate and move up. If he wins closely, they may make some kind of excuses or whatever. But I don't see them giving Lopez the franchise status and everything because he is so unproven. It's not like he's got 40-something fights under his belt like Canelo Alvarez. You know what I mean? So, but D. Hodges says, I think the fathers are the best trainer. They raised them and taught them boxing. Depends on if the fathers knew anything about boxing themselves. You know, it's like if you just took your son to the gym and, you know, you got to know what you're doing in the boxing gym. You really do. He says, some of us wish we had dad. Not me, though. And Big Homie Coop says, I hope he can swim, too. D. Hodges says, Lopez said he's moving up, shaking my head. Yeah. You see, that's what I was just saying. And I didn't even know he said that, but I was saying it from the standpoint of how big he is at the weight. So basically, that's what he has going for him, his physicality, you know, and that's a shame. Big Homie Coop says the WBC is making it up as they go along. They're making it up as stuff happens. It's like when something happens, they change, they move the goalposts. You know, you guys like to say that a lot. That's exactly what the WBC does. They move that goalpost so much, man. It's like there's potholes and sinkholes all over the field. So that's what that is. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. So check it out. This is what it is. And Stormy B-Man feels like Vasily Lomachenko is going to come out ahead in this one. There's a lot of handicaps and there's a lot of questions to be answered. And I think we will get them during the fight. And remember, this is not, even as I make selection or whatever, it's not a spite against either guy. I think I've broken them down and spoke about their quality points and give examples of other circumstances that have seen fighters, you know, face under adversity when matched in a big match like this where they're coming together. And I could be wrong. And I hold to what I say, and it doesn't matter. It's like, and I don't want people to feel like, well, I want to just say what Stormy said or whatever. It's like, hey, man, I'm usually pretty good with these kind of, you know, breakdowns and foreseeing fights. But at the same time, I don't like when they have so many handicaps. This fight has a ton of them. It really does. And what's interesting is I'm calling Vasily a veteran, right? He's older, but they got the same number of fights. But Vasily has fought the better quality of opposition, and that can't be denied. And his extensive amateur career saw him do some things. Basically, they were pro-ams. You know what I mean? So he's really got more like 30 fights. But again, there you go. You know. So yeah, but that's it I got for you guys this evening. I appreciate you guys coming out, listening to what I had to say. I wasn't expecting as many people to come out that have. So that's pretty cool that you guys have come out and given me support in that manner. So I really appreciate that, you know. And, you know, hey, let's just put it like this, man. You never know until the bell rings. And once that bell rings and these guys, the leather starts flying, that's what we'll see, you know. But this is Stormy B-Man. You know, that's what I had to say on this fight this evening. You guys, I look forward to the fights just like you, and hopefully it's entertaining. Hopefully it'll be everything that we were looking for it to be, you know. And you know, that's all I got. So catch you guys get you guys on the next one, man. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for the Friday night chop session with Stormybman. You know, and it'll be what it's gonna be, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right.